Bob Welch, what you been up to these days?
Well, I'm doing some limited amount of touring. I want to do 4 or 5 or so shows a year. I'm doing playing in Columbus, Georgia on June 25th, and Hershey, Pennsylvania on July 18th, and with Atlanta Rhythm Section, and in Georgia on June 25th with RPM, which is Rock and Pop Masters. It's a bunch of guys that everybody's had their own hits, So it's me, Orleans, Pat Travers, Joe Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult, and kind of everybody does 4 or 5 songs, and they're all recognizable. Top 10 singles and stuff like that. So just a limited amount of work, live work, and then have my album of remakes out. That's has downloads and also physical CDs. It's doing pretty well, and that's pretty much about it. I'm kind of semi-retired, but that's pretty much the extent of it. We just came through this horrific flooding in Nashville here.
And how's it flooding with you? Is it everything's all right?
Yeah, everything's all right, but we couldn't get out of our house for a couple of days because we were kind of like stranded. The access roads in and out were underwater, but we're fine because we live up sort of on a hill. But it's pretty devastating for the city. They're calling it the 500-year flood now, not even just the 100-year flood. They're calling it the 500-year or 1,000-year flood. So pretty weird. But I actually went out of the house for the first time today. It's my first time out of the house since maybe Friday.
So you've been in your house the whole weekend?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the rain started coming down bad on early Saturday morning, and it did not stop until really late Sunday, and we got like 18 inches in some places in 2 hours of rain. So it's been pretty horrific. It's a major flood event in Nashville.
Wow.
But we came through it where we live. It flooded badly near us, but we ourselves, our house is up high enough up on a hill, so there's no problem.
Well, that's good to know, and
Yeah.
you guys still have electricity and all that stuff, and always
Yeah,
did.
well, our power never went out. We were very lucky. Our power never went out, and we sailed through it. We were very lucky. But a lot of people have lost their homes here, and it's going to be a real, hard project to rebuild and stuff.
That's devastating.
Yeah.
Really.
So where are you located?
In Nova Scotia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a brother-in-law who was from Nova Scotia. Nice part of the country.
When's the last time you've came to Nova Scotia or Canada?
Well, I've actually never been. In Nova Scotia, but I know people who are from there, so.
So talking about your latest release there, the remakes, what approach did you go into this album?
Well, what I wanted to do is remake them exactly the same. I mean, every single part, every guitar part, bass part, drum part is exactly the same as on the originals, with the exception that it's modern digital sound. The sound, people don't realize that in the old days when you made records, you had to make each track so it would fit on a vinyl record, and vinyl had a very narrow dynamic range. In other words, the highs and the lows, it had to be all compressed. So I wanted to remake the songs the way that they would sound if they were done today.
Mm-hmm.
And they open out. They're much louder. You get your low sub bass and your real high highs. And that was my main intention, to do modern sonically. As far as in terms of sound quality. There's some minor variations from the originals, but really I kept pretty strictly to what's on the originals, and it's doing fairly well. It's ticking along. Some people are divided. People are divided about it. Some people absolutely love it, and other people hate it because they're purists. They think it's vinyl records were better, but I disagree. vinyl records sounded bad because they were very limited in the amount of sound level and range you could actually get on those grooves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty happy with it.
This album, you do it like on digital, not analog systems?
Yeah, I did it all in my home studio. And I'm not one of those people who is a big believer in analog sounding better. I mean I have a lot of analog front end stuff, meaning preamps and stuff. All the microphones go through the analog gear. But as far as the end result, if you did an A/B comparison of one of my remakes with the original, it's just not like night and day. It's like the remake just opens up into a whole new, panorama of sound. But some people are just nostalgic about the old, quote, the old days. They think the old days were better, so. Now, I'm not one of those people.
Now, Bob, equipment-wise, you using the same equipment, let's say, from back, in the day?
From years ago?
Yeah.
Well, not really. Most of the stuff is computerized,
But I mean more like a guitar or something like that, or an amp.
Oh yeah, I still, I play my Fender Strat guitar as my main guitar, and I also use a lot of Gibsons, and the guitar will never change. That's the one thing you can't model in software. Guitar is all over the place, and those are, all the guitars, of course, are real. You have to play the guitar. You can't do it with a computerized emulation. So I'm doing all that myself, and it's time-consuming, but it's a lot of fun.
Let's say, back in '71, Fleetwood Mac, the original stuff, the guitars you had back then, do you still have them today?
No, I wish I did, but I was always one of those people who I used the guitar that I needed for a particular project, and after it was over with, then I moved on to the next project. I wish I had kept some of my guitars, but unfortunately I didn't. I've had a huge range of guitars over the years, but I don't have anything older than about 10 or 15 years. I wish I had some of the ones I had back in the '70s. They'd be worth a lot of money now.
For sure. Let's say your first album with Fleetwood Mac, for Future Games. What type of guitar, would you have used on that one?
Well, that was probably the Gibson ES-335, and also I had a nice Fender Strat, but mostly it was a Gibson ES-345 stereo that I had, and that would probably be the main one.
And for amplifiers, what would you have plugged it in?
Back in the old days?
In the old days.
Pretty much Fenders. I used to use Fenders all the time. There was also an amplifier, an English amplifier company called Orange. We used a lot of the Orange amps back in those days.
And basically, the volume was regulated quite loud when you record this stuff, or just.
Well, yeah, because back in those days you couldn't really get a good tone unless you played real loud, and a lot of people lost their hearing because of that. But nowadays you don't have to do that. They have systems where you can get a really good tone, but at a low level that doesn't blow your eardrums out. So, yeah, we played pretty loud. Not as loud as some of the other bands we played with, like Black Sabbath and stuff. But it had to be loud to get the tone,
Would you say, the recording process, from album to album, let's say with the Fleetwood Mac stuff, it changed a lot throughout the years, from '71 to '74?
Yeah, really. You saw the track count go up. I mean, it went from just having 8 tracks to having 24 and then 32 track machines. It got a lot more sophisticated. Really, about 1976, 77 was probably the height of analog recording, quality. And then, so there was a bit of a change, not that big of a change from 71 to 74 or 5, but you basically got more tracks. so you could do more overdubs and stuff. And that was pretty much the glory days of analog.
Let's say touring now, how comfortable you're touring, like you take it easy, one day on, one day off, flying to your show?
Yeah, I just do, one or two shows at a time. I don't do one-nighters night after night after night anymore. That's too tiring. I just, what I really do is I kind of plug into a pre-existing band, like the band will learn the songs, and we have a sound check and run over it, and then I jump on stage and do it. So it's not, hours and days and weeks of riding around in cars and stuff. I just do one or two shows and come back home, and then, another couple of months later do a couple of shows, come back home. That's more comfortable, and it's, at my age, that's what I want to do.
And, internet and, the marketing of your, new album, how you enjoyed that? You're doing it on your own, or, you have a team doing it?
Yeah, well, pretty much, it's really a matter of getting all my stuff is up on all the digital outlets, iTunes and Rhapsody and Lala and Amazon, for sale as MP3s, or, I'm still selling some CDs, but it's really moving to all MP3s now. And there pretty much is no marketing to do, because people who are familiar with my stuff just, they know about it already. There's no big marketing push or anything like that, because all my old things from Fleetwood Mac and my old solo albums, they're still, they still tick over nicely. They sell continuously, and I'm always finding kind of a new audience with my old and redone stuff. So I'm out there. All I have to do is, Google Bob Welch, or go to Amazon and look for Bob Welch, or go to iTunes, look for Bob Welch. I got all kinds of stuff up there. Also, all my old Capitol records are on iTunes, and all those things are up there too. So there's a lot to choose from.
For unreleased material, is there stuff from Fleetwood Mac days that's never been released ever?
There is some, but I'm not allowed to, because I don't own the masters. I'm not allowed to put that stuff up. But I do have a lot of newer stuff available on both on my website, bobwelch.com, and on audiocandy.com. I have a page. That's where my forum is. I have a lot of free downloads up there. Just stuff that I've fooling around with, stuff that never made it onto an album. All kinds of stuff, so people want to check that out. It's all free.
And are you working on, new stuff also? Do you constantly work on, in your studio?
Yeah, I'm always working on new stuff, but the way it worked, unlike in the old days, instead of working on a group of songs and then putting them on an album, I just put them out as soon as I finish them. I just, track by track, song by song. I think the concept of the album is pretty much over with. It's outdated. Bundling 12 or 15 songs together and calling it an album, unless it was really a concept album, it doesn't really make any sense. And I think what people want today is they want the song, they want the particular track, So what's nice about the MP3 thing is you can get just one song that you want. You don't have to get all the other stuff that you don't want along with it.
You support the singles, basically. That it's fine to download
one
song.
Yeah, it's back to a singles kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Because long ago, when you could buy a 45 RPM record with only 2 songs, it would still consider a sale.
Yeah, well, that's all they had back in the very early days. That's before my time, but this was 45 RPM, and then when they came out with a long-playing record, that was when the album really started, the concept of album. But the concept of album really only started because of the long LP disc, And now it's gone back to the single, where you just want that one song. You want as many as you like. You can go through songs and preview them, and the ones you like you get, and the ones you don't like you don't get, which I think is great.
Let's go to guitars there for a minute. Like, the guitars you actually own right now, are they vintage instruments, or is it more new?
Well, they're not real collector's guitars. I wouldn't call them vintage. They're fairly new. I mean, the oldest. Well, actually, the one old guitar I have a Gibson did a restoration on the ES-345 that I had in 1971, and I had done a real bad hack job on it, trying to replace the pickups with the Gibson Custom Shop, which is located here in Nashville. They redid it for me. So that's the oldest one that I had. That guitar dates from about 71, and all the rest of them are just my Strat is from my Strat's maybe 15 years old. I have a Gibson Nighthawk, which Gibson gave me, which is a very nice little guitar, and that's maybe 10 years old. I have a Chet Atkins acoustic electric, which Gibson also was nice enough to give me, and that's 10 or 15 years old. So, but nothing really collector. I didn't manage to hold on to all my really good stuff. I wish I had, because it'd be great to have those things, but I just didn't hold on to them.
Would you see guitarists today compared to, guitars 15 to 20 years ago still, do their jobs, their playing ability and that?
Actually, the standard of manufacturing is a lot higher today than it was back then. But people like there's nothing like the really old classic to collectible. It's almost reached the point of fine furniture or collecting furniture and stuff like that. It's just people collect them because of their historical value and the way they look, and they don't even play them. They put them in a display case and just have them as a piece of artwork almost. Yeah.
Well, Bob, it's been really great talking to you, and this summer you're going to be playing a couple shows.
Yeah, well, so far I'm doing Hershey, Pennsylvania in July, and doing Columbus, Georgia at June 25th. So far, that's all we've got. A couple more might slot in there, but if anybody wants to know where I'm playing, they can check my website, bobwelch.com, and I always put any dates I'm doing up there. So.
Well, awesome stuff. Thanks again for waiting for me.
Well, no problem. Nice talking with you, and have a great rest of the week.
Hey, thank you. You also, and good luck with the flood there.
Oh, thanks very much.
All right, well, thank you again, and good luck with the flood there, okay?
Well, thank you very much, and good luck to you, too.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.